Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Delaney, and for today's video we are going to be doing part 2 of my eyeshadow palette declutter, and this is my larger eyeshadow palettes. As you can see, there's a lot from one particular brand that is my favorite. I do have a bunch of other palettes in here. I desperately need to go through these. There's some that I use quite frequently and some that I really do not. I'm going to try to declutter some Natasha Denona palettes, even though I have a very difficult time doing so, but we will see how that goes. If you're interested in seeing my eyeshadow palette declutter, then keep on watching. I have been loving the mini palette declutter so far, so hopefully I can do just as good with this one. Let's go ahead and dive in. Alright, as you can see, my nails are not done for this video. This is a very rare occasion where you see my natural nails, but my red nail polish that I had was chipping and I didn't have time to do them before this video. So if you want to see more about my nail polish, just let me know. I have a video up about my Mooncat shades. They're awesome. Definitely go check them out. A lot of people have commented asking what shades I've been wearing in these declutter videos. So yeah, you get a very rare look at my plain nails. But that being said, let's go ahead and dive in. I'm just gonna start with what's on top and go from there, probably saving the Natasha Denona ones for last. But starting out strong, we have my Blend Bunny Cosmetics The Dollhouse palette, and this one is very, very good. I will say though, I do tend to reach into the other one I have from Blend Bunny more. This is kind of their neutral version of that big palette, and I love the way they set these up. It is perfect for beginners. It is perfect for anybody who just wants a quick, easy makeup look, not a lot of thought put into it. You can see there's some fun color combinations here, but it goes light, medium, deep, and then you have a lighter shimmer and a deeper shimmer that kind of accompany those shades in that kind of color scheme. It makes everything so easy. You can blend everything out beautifully. The formula of the mattes is incredible. The shimmer shade is beautiful, but it is not my favorite shimmer shade of all of the brands, but the mattes are truly incredible, and having these neutral shades is really nice. I think I am going to keep this one just because the other one definitely is not neutral, and you'll see that in a second. But I do like having the neutral options from this brand, so I'm going to keep. Another one I'm going to definitely go ahead and keep. I just talked about this one. This is the Blends palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics, and if I want to reach into a colorful palette, this is what I'm going to reach into. So if I'm going to do any sort of really super colorful makeup look, this is usually what I'm reaching into. It's just perfect. It has the whole rainbow in here, and it goes from light, medium, deep. I will say that these deep shades are deep, but they're not like super deep, but that is why we have the black shade in here and the gray, and of course dark brown, so you can really deepen up those shades pretty well. The deep blue and the purple are pretty dark on their own, but like the red, I think they could have gone a hint more deep, like burgundy, but hey, honestly, this is so pretty, and it has every color that I really would need. I am a neutral makeup girly on a regular basis, so having one palette in here that has a lot of colors is great to keep in my collection, just in case I do want to do some fun, colorful makeup. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep this one. The matte formula is incredible, super easy to blend out. I have no notes. It's just great. So keep this one. I think it's time for me to let this one go. So this one is the Transitions palette from Dominique Cosmetics. I think this is the last Dominique Cosmetics product I have in my collection, sadly. At one point, they were just really good. I haven't tried any of their new stuff recently. I don't know if they have any really new stuff, but this palette in particular has survived so many declutters, and I have yet to reach back into it. This is just an all matte neutral palette. Really beautiful. Just, I mean, every neutral shade really that you could want, but they're all mattes. You even have a pink in here, and you have a yellow neutral tone in here as well. They're great. I just never end up reaching in here, and I can't just keeping it in my collection for no reason. If I haven't reached into this in a few years, then I think it's time to go. So, declutter. This one I thought I decluttered, but somehow it ended up in my drawer again, or maybe I decided to keep it. I don't know, but I think I'm definitely gonna have to get rid of it. It looks brand new. This is from Ofra Cosmetics, and this is their Good to Go Mini Mix palette. And I loved this for a little bit, but I will say I only reached in here for the highlight shades. I didn't really reach in here for the eyeshadows. I found that these are just too orange toned, too warm for me, and then this pop of turquoise, just I didn't feel like it really went with the colors in here. The blush is really nice. A little deeper than I usually go, but it's still really good. The bronzer is actually what I came in here for most, and you can see how dirty it is around there. But the highlighter's great, the bronzer's great. I never reach into it for the other shades. For that reason, I think I'm going to let this go. I have a friend who I think will really enjoy these shades, and yeah, it's great. But like the formula is great. I just didn't find that the shades were for me, especially the eyeshadows. The formula was actually pretty good. I just didn't find myself reaching for it. I kind of forgot about it. So, Declutter. This one I'm kind of debating on. I really don't know if I want to keep it or not. Part of me wants to keep it because of the collaboration aspect, but as far as the shades go, I'm not sure. So this is the Hella palette from Odin's Eye and Angelica. I really enjoyed this collaboration, but I will say the color scheme is not something that I do reach into a lot. If you remember me saying from my previous eyeshadow palette video, I love greens and golds and pinks, and theoretically this palette has all those things. I think I just need to use it a little bit more, honestly. I don't want to get rid of it. I just have a hard time reaching in here because I'm such a neutral makeup girl now. But when I did colorful makeup, the pinks and the purples and the greens and the golds were what I did most. And I just, it pains me to get rid of this because I really want to support Angelica. I really enjoy her channel, and this palette is absolutely beautiful, and the Odin's Eye formula is actually really great. I just don't find myself reaching into these shades anymore. And should I keep something just because it's a collaboration and it's a pretty palette? Or should I keep things that I know 100% that I'm going to reach into frequently? I haven't done any swatches just yet, but I think this is the first one that I want to show you a swatch from because the formula really is so good. This multi-chrome is a little bit on the thinner side. It's not the usual kind of feeling that I get with multi-chromes, but truly special. So here is that shade right there. Oh, it's so good. And in a palette, I love seeing multi-chromes in a palette. It just has the most beautiful shift to it. Has that like purple, blue, almost kind of got like the full rainbow in there, but kind of a pastel rainbow in a shade. And then, let's see, what was my other favorite one? This one was kind of a duochrome. I'll show you this one as well. And it is a beautiful purple shade. These are the reasons that I would probably dip into this palette because they're so good. I kind of feel like if Odin's Eye has a neutral palette, I need to try it and I might actually reach into it more. But Angelica is not a neutral person. She is a colorful makeup girl, and I wouldn't expect her palette to be any less. This is beautiful. I'm glad I supported her. Her color story is gorgeous. But should I keep this palette? The shimmers really make me want to. Honestly, like the shimmers really are incredible. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to keep it. Only because I do not have any Odin's Eye in my collection currently, and I don't want to get rid of the Odin's Eye formula from my collection. I just think it's too pretty and too nice to get rid of. These two are probably going to have to be a declutter. They are pretty old. Yeah, they're pretty old. These are from Marc Jacobs, and there was a time when I loved these so much, but these are like 6 or 7 years old, maybe older. I don't know. I really don't know because I got these when they were on the older side. This is the Electric palette, and this one was my all-time favorite. I loved it. It has the neutrals, it has a pop of pink in here, it has this little duochrome in here. This silver was incredible, and I think the formula is actually still kind of good. Yes, the formula is still incredible. let me just show you. I don't even know if Marc Jacobs Beauty still exists, but this is an old palette and it still kicks butt. That shade is awesome. And it is for that reason that I hadn't decluttered it yet, because the formula is still awesome. And I'm like, dang, why get rid of such a good formula? Since I go through makeup with my community here, I can't recommend it because it's old and they don't sell it anymore. So is it fair to just use an eyeshadow palette over and over again that people can't get anymore? No, probably not. It had a good life, it had a good run, and the formula still is incredible after all of this time, which is crazy to me. I think I'm gonna have to declutter it. I think I'm also gonna have to declutter this one too. This is in Fantasine palette from Marc Jacobs, and it's their like spring version, a nice like pinky nude kind of palette. And honestly, this is like pretty much the same color story as some Natasha Denona palettes that I have. This shade right here is still phenomenal as well, but you know, I don't really reach into the oranges if you've watched my previous declutter video, but I'll show you the formula. Yeah, it's still really, really good. It's kind of incredible how old these shades are and they are still performing so well, but because they are discontinued, because the brand I don't even know exists anymore, I am going to declutter both of them. I wish something would come out with this kind of packaging again because I love this glitter packaging, but these both are going to be decluttered. I feel bad because I didn't show you the shimmer formula from this one, so I'm just going to swatch 1 or 2 shades just to show you kind of how the shimmer formula works for the Blend Bunny Dollhouse palette. I'm going to do this kind of duochrome pink gold right here, and it is super like almost wet feeling. It's kind of got like a lavender honey vibe to it. Oh my gosh, is that gorgeous. Sorry I didn't swatch this before. I didn't know I was diving into the swatches just yet, but it happens because I love glitter. But just wow. I mean, really great shimmer formula. It is great. I know I said the shimmer formula wasn't my favorite. It's just because I have so many different palettes that I have a lot of favorite formulas for shimmers, and this is not like the one that I would reach into every single time, but it's still so gorgeous. I'm gonna do one more for you guys, and I think it's gonna be this one. I don't normally go for like the deep glittery shades, but it is so pretty. I love this shade for like a deep glittery smoky eye. How great is that? It looks like the night sky. It's gorgeous and sparkly and everything I could want. Oh, so good. And they pair beautifully with the different colors in here. Yeah, this one's just so good. This is a throwback, and I just don't know if I'm ready to let it go yet. Honestly, like, I haven't touched it in so long. But it has such a special place in my heart. I don't know if I can do it. This is from e.l.f. and this is the e.l.f. Chipotle eyeshadow palette collaboration. I bought the entire collection from this set. I did not get the bag. I'm so sad because that was sold out by the time I got to it, but I was able to get the palette and the lip gloss and the sponge set. And the lip gloss, whatever. Couldn't care less, really. It was like a red shade that I never really wore, but it was fun. But this is just so good. This is inspired by the way that Chipotle is set up with like the lettuce and the cheese and the beans and the meat and everything, the salsa, and it's just so fun and cute, and I love Chipotle so much. If you ask any of my friends, I am a diehard Chipotle fan. I really, really love it. And this, when it came out, was like a meeting of the minds. It's the best of both worlds. Chipotle and makeup came together. I kind of wish that it wasn't e.l.f. that did it, honestly. The shades, like the formulas are nice. They're not the best. If LA Girl did this with their amazing formula, I would have been even happier with it. But it's still good. The quality of the shades is actually better than like the standalone palettes from e.l.f. that they have, because I don't like any of the bite-sized ones or anything like that. But the shades in here, like they're still really great. And this I might have had a little bit of black from the previous shade underneath this, so hopefully it swatches okay. But look at that beautiful gold shade. It is like metal. It's actually really beautiful. And let me see, maybe I can do one more. Maybe this pink shade here. It's like a pink with like a little hint of a blue-green. It's so beautiful. And I don't actually have many shades like that. I really enjoy this palette. I don't wear it a ton, but it's so nice. And I don't have the heart to get rid of it just yet. I'm going to keep that. All right, I went ahead and cleaned off my hand. The sparkles are still there, but that's what happens when you get rid of the shimmer shades. But we're going to keep going because I feel like I'm going to probably keep swatching. So next up is one that I can definitely declutter. I bought this at Marshall's and I thought I was going to love it because it's neutral and it's really cute. But this is the Hershey Kisses collaboration with Glamlite. This is the milk chocolate palette. And how cute is this? I mean, the tag is adorable. It looks just like a Hershey Kiss. It opens from the top like, actually, yeah, it opens from the top like this. And it is so cute. The shimmers from Glamlite are really good. The mattes are okay. They're just not my formula. Like, I've just found that it's not my favorite formula to reach into, and I barely ever touched this. I will go ahead and swatch it for you if you're interested, but not my favorite. Like, it's super metallic. The shimmers are great. Just not... I just ended up not reaching for this hardly ever, which is a shame because this looks incredible, but I just found myself forgetting about this. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter. I think it's because it's a little dark for me. I needed some kind of lighter tones in here to brighten it up. This was the only shade that I truly wanted to reach for. Kind of a combination of these three here. That's half the shades in the palette. I don't want to keep a palette just to use half the shades. So sadly, this is going to be a declutter, even though it is so precious. This one is from Pat McGrath, and I'm not really sure what the name of it is until I open it up. Oh wait, here we go. It's the Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction palette. This one was, I think, my first palette ever from Pat McGrath, and it was definitely a splurge-worthy item. It's very old now, so I don't know. I touch it, I reach into it maybe once every few months-ish. It's not one that I wear a ton anymore. It is a super heavy palette as well, so it's not really a travel palette. So don't really buy Pat McGrath for the travel palette, honestly. I did declutter the mini palette from them. I think I decluttered both of them that were the smaller ones. So I will say the formula in these big palettes with this kind of packaging is the nicer formula, but they're not really great for travel, so just a heads up. But here's what it looks like on the inside, and it is truly beautiful. There is something really special about these shades. The formula is incredible. There's a multi-chrome in here, there's a duochrome in here, and some really amazing shimmer shades that have some glitter in them that are really special and unique. So I will be keeping this, but I will say I do not use it as much as I probably should for the price point. So I would not go ahead and recommend you go ahead and spend all that money on this palette, but if you do somehow get a hold of it for a discount, you will be happy with it. So I'll go ahead and swatch some of the really special shades to show you. And this shade, which is kind of a duochrome green and pink, this one is really, really nice and probably my most used from the palette. It's very unique. I don't have anything like this in my duochrome, multi-chrome collection. It has kind of a peachy pink shimmer or shift to it. It goes to a light greenish blue. Very, very nice neutral multi-chrome that looks really, really great. This one is also really fun. It has kind of a flakier texture though. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of Electric Unicorn from Give Me Glow, but it has a different texture to it. It's a little thinner, but still so good. It kind of has like a light blue purple shift to it, but it goes to that bright gold and has just such a nice sparkly look to it on the eyes that I love. and I actually really love wearing these shades. But again, these are so expensive. I would not recommend you go out and buy this. It's like, I don't know, was it $170? I'll pop up the price of this palette for you so you can see. I did not spend that much money on it. I did get it when it was at a pretty good discount, but it still was really expensive when I bought it. This one's good, like really good. I'm gonna keep it in my collection. It's not one of my most used palettes, but I spent so much money on this, I cannot bring myself to declutter it, to be honest, even though I probably have a bunch of different neutral. Like this whole side of the palette, I could probably find in my palettes. This side, however, not so much. This pink shade right here is very similar to like a Give Me Glow shimmer. These are similar to Gimme Glow. This one is probably similar to a Cleona shade that I have. They are really, really good, and those multi-chromes are expensive on their own, so I'm just gonna keep this one. I really like it. Plus the packaging is so pretty and fun. I love keeping it. Next up, we have two big palettes from LA Girl, and I honestly don't know what to do with these because I like both of them a lot, but I don't think I need to keep both. So this one is the Sun-Kissed Glow palette, and this one is the Hey Hey Vacay palette. And I think there are two Hey Hey Vacays, but, oh, this is the Good Times and Tan Lines version. There is another one that's blue that I do not have in the same line. This one is your true, like, all neutral palette. Very warm toned, though. This is not a cool tone palette. This is great for summer, very bronzy. The shades are really nice, but do I need all of these shades? That is the question. I don't know. The formula is the same really great LA Girl formula. I will say that these shimmers do not have that same like wet metallic quality that some of the other ones like the 9-pan palette had. They're still really good, but not quite to that level. I'll go ahead and swatch a couple shades for you. They're still really pretty, but they are, I don't know, they're more straight metallics and not glitters. So that's one reason that I don't really know if I need to keep it. But honestly, very similar in quality to like a Natasha Denona shimmer. It's really pretty and really nice. Let's see if I can find one that's a little more sparkly. This one has a little bit more glitter to it. Yeah, you can see the glitter in that one a little bit more. This one's more of a straight up metallic shade. I don't know. Part of me thinks I can go ahead and get rid of this one because if I'm going to reach into an LA Girl palette, I don't think that this is going to be the one that I reach for. I think I like this one over this one. So I think this is going to be a declutter. It's still a good formula. If you find it, I think you're going to still like it. It just doesn't hold up to the same quality as some of the other LA Girl palettes that I have. So declutter. Now this one on the other hand, this one has the same metallic foiled sparkly quality that the 9-pan palette from the mini palette declutter had. This is so good, and it also has the hard packaging, which is really nice for travel. A giant mirror in here, which is great if you want to do your makeup on the go. And it has a nice like, pop of color in here as well, kind of mixed in with the neutrals. It is so pretty. I love the blue row. It's really nice. I love having these green shades, the gold shades. This gold shade has that same metallic formula as my favorite shade from the 9-pan situation. Really, really good. And so does this one, actually. Both of those have that similar formula. The other ones are your straight up metallic formulas, not as much your glittery ones, but they are still really great. I love that I can get neutral, a pop of color. I can pretty much get any look I want and a lot of variety from here. So I'm definitely keeping this one. Let's see, I will go ahead and swatch those two shades for you. So this one, like, wow, it's just really great. That smooth, metallic, wet-looking shimmer that has a little bit of glitter in there too. Kind of like liquid metal. I love it. And then there's this one, which is the gold, which they almost feel wet in the pan, which is how I know it's that same kind of formula. It doesn't have the same kind of flip that that other one had, but very, very, very similar. And I love the tones, love the shades, love the formula. The mattes are those really great LA Girl matte shades. So I'm going to keep this one. It's another Angelica collaboration. And this is from Kidos. And this one is very unique. It has those deep blues and greens. It has some of those pinks and purples. It has a little bit of the red and orange, which I don't really use the red and orange 3 shades right here. If I'm going to reach into this palette, it's going to be for all of these. But since it's only three shades that I don't really reach into, it's still fine. I kept one Kidos palette from the other palette declutter video. This one is definitely the more colorful one, and I think I can get something similar to the electro turquoise look, just a little bit more muted from this palette, and it has still that great formula. I don't know. I don't really reach in here all that often anymore. This one's kind of like the Odin's Eye one where I have to really be in the mood for colorful eyeshadow to reach into it. This is hard. I don't want to... I love the shimmers so much. I don't want to get rid of it because it's Kidos formula. They're incredible. This green shade and the purple shade are so good. So here's that like really bright poppy minty shade. Like, come on, that's so good. And then let's do that deep blue. That's so good. But you know what? I don't know. I don't think I should keep this one as well. I think it's this or the Odin's Eye one. I don't need both collaborations from Angie. She's great, but I don't think I reach into this one anymore. I used to, honestly. I did a video on this palette. I will pop it up for you right here with 3 different looks from the palette. There was a time when I reached into this for a lot. Like this was one of my top palettes for a very long time, and my makeup changes. Like my makeup style has just changed so much that I don't think this is something that I'm going to be getting back into. If I want to do bright, colorful looks, I do have the Blend Bunny ones. As much as I hate to see the formula go, I think I have something similar enough in my collection, especially with my multi-chromes, that I can kind of get something similar. So I think I'm going to get rid of this, sadly. I will miss this blue shade too. It is just like an ethereal, ghostly white shade. Very similar actually to the one in the Makeup by Mario one. So maybe I won't be missing out on it. Yeah, as much as I love this for a time, I think it is time for this one to go, sadly. So this is going to be a declutter. I will let you watch the other one to see what happened to the mini palette from Huda Beauty. But these are really good, but I don't think I need both. So I have the Rose Quartz palette and I have the Empowered palette. This one is this one is a neutral dream. It is like, it's got super hyper metallic metal shades in here, and then it has the neutrals to go with it. It is so pretty to look at. But I don't ever reach into here. I think I need to start making myself reach into it. It really is gorgeous. These shades right here are creams, and I think that kind of scared me off a little bit. Maybe I need to try them again. This shade is great for a liner. Then you have these neutral shades around here. I think it's just a very warm golden toned palette, and I didn't find myself really reaching into it for anything else other than the gold shades. This one is my favorite one, Bold Moves. This one has like a wet, flaky texture that's very, very unique in my collection. It is really truly like metal in a shade. It's very pretty. And then this one, Charisma, is more like a super glittery, sparkly, metallic shade. They all have different formulas, so it is interesting to see. This one's gonna be more your sheer glitter. The other one is very like super pigmented. This one, Limitless, which is the center gold shade. I don't know why they needed 2 that looked so similar, but they are different formulas. This one is your more pigmented gold shade, but it does have a flakier texture to it. This is why I didn't reach into it, because of that flakiness. It tended to have fallout, and I didn't really love that. So if the shimmers are that good and some of them have the fallout, I think that's probably why I stopped reaching into it, honestly. So maybe I think this one can go. I think out of the two, I think this is my less used one. Plus I have neutral eyeshadow like crazy, and I just don't think I need this one anymore. As pretty as it is, I never really reached for it. I actually have a Natasha Denona palette that looks very similar in color tone to this, so I definitely don't need to keep this one. I'm gonna go ahead and declutter. All right, here is the Rose Quartz palette. This one I think I can hold on to because, well, I say that. I say that, but do I really need it is the question. I don't really reach into it other than for this shade, Energized, and this shade here, which is Blissful. Moon Magic is also really good. This one, okay, maybe some of the shimmer shades are really incredible, but I just don't think the mattes in here, I don't know. They're very neutral, which is fine, and maybe that is more my taste. I don't know. Maybe I just have to give the mattes another chance. The shimmers are definitely where this palette sparkles, and I think I can give this one more shot. Kind of similar to the Odin's Eye one. If I don't reach into this palette by next declutter, I think this one is going to have to go, but the shimmers in here definitely make up for anything. I mean, look at that. It's so incredibly metallic and beautiful. That's a shade I'm going to wear a ton. So I think I just have to give this palette another shot. This one, Blissful, again, so pretty. Very unique. I love that kind of blue shift in there. A nice rose gold that has a blue shift. And Moon Magic is like a pinky purpley blue. This is definitely my the more sheer of the formulas, but still really incredible and looks great on the eyes. Doesn't even want to focus half the time, which is the sign that it's a really good shimmer shade. So I think I'm going to keep this one and get rid of the Empower one. Actually, since we're swatching, I'm just going to show you Cosmic Glow, because this one is probably my most used shade out of this palette. It is so deep and pretty. I love it. Very smoky purple. Like if you use the purple mattes, it's gonna blend in with the purple and then just give you that blue shimmer. That's just really incredible. So yeah, I think I've convinced myself the shimmers are going to make this palette a keep. I do have 4 Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes that I will talk about. I don't know if I'm going to be decluttering any of them because they are some of my favorite formulas. Actually, there's 5 of them. I thought there were only 4. But we'll go through them, and if I feel like I can declutter some, then maybe I will. But starting with my absolute favorite, and it's not going anywhere, this is the Sultry palette, and the packaging is stunning, incredible, beautiful, all the glitter, and it is just, I wish that they made every single palette like this one because it's so good. It has this upscale cardboard kind of packaging and all the neutral shades you can imagine, some great mix of shimmers and mattes, and the Anastasia formula, especially this original formula, was unbeatable. So good, so blendable. The shimmers are just so soft and buttery and metallic and still have a good punch of glitter to them. I love this palette. This palette is the same one that I had through maybe end of high school into college, or maybe it was early college, but still, it's been a long time since I've gotten this palette. It's many, many years old, and it still performs really, really well. I am 100% keeping this one. I know I do have the mini Sultry palette, but some of my favorite shades are not in the mini one, and I'm not ready to get rid of them yet, so this one is a keep. Next up, we have Modern Renaissance. This was not the first release of this palette. This is a newer one-ish. It's still maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 years old, maybe older than that. It's still pretty old, but it's not like the first one that they came out. This was one of their not re-releases, but it wasn't the first round of making them either. But this one is good. I'm almost tempted, actually, I know I need to be ruthless, and I kind of think that maybe this is one that I can declutter, only because there are only 2 shimmers in here, and as much as I use all of the matte shades on this side, I don't tend to reach for these pinky tones in here. If I do reach for a pink tone, it's probably going to be from Natasha Denona, but I do love all of these matte shades. I really do need some extra shimmers, so actually I think it is time to declutter this one. I think my friend might actually really enjoy this neutral palette with just like, these shimmers don't have a lot of glitter in them. They're kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say underwhelming because they look pretty, but comparatively to all of my shimmers in my collection, they are kind of underwhelming. So I think this one actually is going to be decluttered. Yeah, I think it'll have a good home and it is time. So declutter. Next up is Soft Glam, and I actually... I've seen a smaller version of Soft Glam. I just kind of hesitated to buy it because it did look so similar to this one. And this one is well used, as you can tell, especially this tempera shade and the shimmers in here. I really enjoy this one. These 2 shades are kind of similar to the one in Modern Renaissance, so I definitely don't need to keep the other one because that formula is present right here in very similar shades. But it does have a few more shimmers in here that have a little bit more of a punch to it. These 2 here are the ones I use most often. And of course, the matte shades in here are very similar. Really good, same formula. That's amazing. So this one is not going anywhere. It goes from really light to really deep and has some shimmers that I can use. And a good variety of looks can come from this one. So this one I am going to keep. This one... Okay, yeah, I gotta keep it. I gotta keep it. I use it a lot. I still reach into it. This felt packaging definitely can get a little gross. You can see kind of some discoloration on it, but it is really, really good. This is the Norvina by Anastasia Beverly Hills. And as you can tell from the top row, these shimmers get a lot of use. I really love that there are so many shimmers in here, lots of different colors. I really like that I can get a lot of different varieties from this palette. This purple shade is probably my least used shade, but it's okay. Every other shade in here I get a ton of use out of, even the pink. So yeah, I think I am definitely going to keep this one. This one, I don't know. This one and Sultry have a special place in my heart, so they're definitely not going anywhere. And then finally we have the newer one of my collection. This is the Cosmos palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. A nice, like, neutral but colorful palette. And I actually really like these shades. It is not my favorite of all of my Anastasia formulas, but I like the variety. I like the color different. I love the different shades in here. They're not present in any of the other ones that I have from ABH. It definitely has a little bit more of a kick of color, but while still being a neutral palette. And honestly, I really enjoy it. I will say, like, this one may be a little bit underwhelming. I don't know. It's just like a duochrome, but it's not as fun as some of my other duochromes in my collection. This one here is a nice, like, smoky color that I really enjoy. This duochrome I actually really, really love. Super Cluster, Supernova, and then this Quasar shade. Those are my favorite ones from this palette. That's what I'm reaching into pretty much every time I come in here. It's probably this matte and then deepen it up with this one, or this one and then deepen it up with this one, and then adding a shimmer of my choice. But this shade is truly special, and of course the sky blue is beautiful. This one's really pretty too, but I tend to reach in for those 3, but I think they are good enough for me to keep. This one actually is really fun, but I don't get to use it too often. It is Galaxy, and it truly does look like a galaxy. It's a black shade with green and blue shimmer that kind of look like a starry sky, which is just incredible. And then Quasar, I will show you. It is a nice kind of multi-chrome. It has a blue, pink to green shift. Really, really gorgeous. So here is Galaxy and Quasar. They really are so beautiful, and I am going to keep them. Actually, while we're doing this, let's just do Super Cluster, because why not? Here is that beautiful icy blue shade. Really great. If you want an ABH palette that has a pop of color, this one is a great one. I would definitely recommend it. If you want a neutral one though, I don't know, they have a ton of options. They're mostly neutral shades anyway, but their formula is really great, and that's why I have so many of them. So I think I'm only decluttering Modern Renaissance, but I think I'm still happy with that. I will get good use out of the other palettes. Since I didn't get to swatch a ton of them, I will go ahead and show you just a couple shades from the Norvina palette. This has the same formula as the Sultry and the Soft Glam 2, so when you see this, you'll know what the other ones look like. Let's do this purple shade and Dazzling. So I'm going to go do these right next to it. So pretty. And yeah, they are just intensely metallic and still have that glittery punch to them, but not like a sheer glitter shade like in the Cosmos palette. These are so good. They last really long on the eyes. They look amazing on, and I don't know, they just have something really special about them. Anastasia's formula has been one of my favorites for a very, very long time, probably before I even discovered Natasha Denona, and I still reach into these palettes even though they are years and years and years old. So that should tell you something. And how dirty this palette should also tell you how much I love it. But yeah, these are great. Definitely try them if you haven't yet. We are officially to the Natasha Denona segment of this video. I have 12 Natasha Denona palettes to talk about. First up is the biggest one out of all of them. This is the Natasha Denona Neutral Biba palette. Or, sorry, the Biba All Neutral palette. This is a giant palette. It's more expensive than the mid-sized ones. All the other ones I have are mid-sized or smaller. This one has more shades. Actually, it probably has about the same amount of shades. It's just bigger pans. So this pan size is more comparable to the bigger mini palettes, like the Coral palette and the Cranberry palette. You do get a lot more product in here, and because it is a neutral palette, I think it is good that this one in particular has the bigger pan size. I will say, out of all my Natasha Denona palettes, if I'm going to reach into a neutral palette, this is not the neutral palette that I reach for. So, I'm tempted to declutter this one, but so all of the shades in these mid-sized big palettes from Natasha Denona can be depotted easily. They can be popped out and put in a Z palette. So because I use some shades out of this and not all, I may end up, like I mentioned in my previous declutter video for Natasha Denona specifically, I may do a video later on kind of creating my own palette with my Natasha Denona shades. And for that reason, I think I'm going to hold on to it. But it's going to be a declutter from my collection because it's not going to be part of my everyday collection, and it's probably not going to stay in one piece. I'm probably going to take the shades out and kind of recombine them with other palettes to see what I can do, be creative, and kind of do something different. So I think this is a good one to add some neutral shades to a palette when I go ahead and do that video. And it's not a palette that I reach for every day from Natasha, so I think this one is a perfect declutter first off. But it's not going to go anywhere just yet. Another video will be coming soon. These two are very similar to each other. They differ by just one letter or one word, and this is the Retro and the Retro Glam palette. So just for kind of showing you purposes, let me grab the Glam palette as well because I have all three. This one came first. This is the Glamlite palette, and it is a perfect cool toned palette for every day. This one is absolutely not going anywhere in my collection. I use this all the time, as you can see from a lot of these shimmer shades and the matte shades that have a deep divot in them. This is probably one of my most used ones in my collection, like in general. So this is not going anywhere, but as you can see, it is a perfect neutral, cool toned shadow palette. I say cool toned neutral because some of these shades are more cool toned and some of them could be argued that it's kind of just like right in the middle. The shimmers, there's some pinks in here, some golds, some silvers, everything you could want from a neutral palette. Every kind of eye look any neutral girly would want. This is it, but it's not like super warm leaning. This is great. It's not going anywhere. Then they came out with the Retro palette, which I love. This is one of my favorite palettes as well from them. This is the Retro palette, and it is an all pink leaning kind of palette. There's a few pops of those kind of greenish brown neutral shades in here, but for the most part it is pink. It does kind of lean on the cooler side of the pink toned palettes. There are some that lean more warm. This one is definitely not. This is a kind of pink version of the Glam palette, and it is so beautiful. I love it. I use it a ton. I find that I can get a lot of variety out of this palette, and yeah, that's something I definitely look for in a big palette like this. Can I get multiple looks out of it? The formulas are incredible. There's different formula types as well. Like these two shades are the super glittery formula from her that I love. Really, really great, just all around palette. This one then came after, because when they released the mini Retro palette, people were like, okay, so why doesn't the big one have green shades in it? And I argued the same thing, because I really loved the Retro mini palette, and I loved that it had the green and the pink together, and they blended really well. So this was kind of the answer to that, and this is the Retro Glam palette. I will argue though that if you watched my previous video and saw the Retro Glam palette, the Retro Glam is one of my favorite palettes, mini palettes of all time. It is so good, but it has a very warm toned green in it. These are very cool toned greens, and they do not pull the same way and look the same on me as that one did. There are a bunch of different kind of formulas in here, which I appreciate. I love this shade here, a nice neutral, super glittery shade. The pink in here is really good. All of the shimmers are really stand out in here. I will say this kind of cream to powder shimmer is not my favorite, but still good. Just these darker shimmers don't get as much use. The mattes do have a really good formula, but I don't always find myself reaching into this one. These two I reach into all the time. This one, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth decluttering, because I still do reach into it. It's just definitely not my favorite Natasha Denona palette. I think I'm going to keep this one for now, because I do reach into this for the greens. I don't have a ton of those kind of green shimmer shades, so I think I'm going to put this in like the maybe pile for now, but I'm kind of leaning towards keeping it, even though it's not my favorite. It's not bad enough for me to just like say goodbye to. So yeah, I'm going to keep the Glam and the Retro, definitely. This one's going to go in the maybe pile, but leaning on keeping that one. We'll see how my collection is at the end of this. This one is pretty new in my collection. This is the Golden palette, and yes, fingerprints all over it. Maybe I could try to clean it off, but it kind of just gets fingerprints all over it, so yeah. That's the one thing about this beautiful shiny packaging. Fingerprints are just going to happen. But this is a beautiful gold toned palette. I will say that there are some good neutrals in here. It's not just like orangey gold, which I appreciate. That's kind of what I thought it was going to be when I saw the baby gold palette, but this one I definitely like a little more than that baby gold one. Just a heads up. I will say I kind of hoped that this gold palette would be the answer to the mini golden palette, or the mini gold palette. I know that there was a gold palette, like a big version, and that one is no longer made. It's discontinued, and I just, if there was one palette that I wish I could get my hands on, it's that one. I wish they'd bring it back so badly. I want it. It's just the greens and golds. That's right up my alley. It's my perfect kind of palette, but they got rid of it, sadly, and this was kind of their answer to that. This was the Golden palette. And while I really love this one for a neutral palette, I wish that it still had those kind of greenish gold shades, and this one just wasn't what I expected it to be, but I still love it. I will say it is a very well used palette. Even though it's on the newer side, I still get a lot of use out of it. I haven't used it enough yet to give my full opinion, but these shimmers are the same beautiful formula. Kava is one of my favorite shades. This one, Fizzy here, I tend to like that kind of sheer shimmer shade. There are others in a different palette that I'll show you that I really, really love and enjoy that. They're so good. The shades are great. there's not a lot I can say about it. It's newer, I'm keeping it. It's a nice neutral leaning gold palette, which is everything I love, so I'm gonna keep. This is probably my most used palette in general. Like, it is technically a face palette, but it is an eyeshadow palette as well, and I have panned these shades so much, it's kind of incredible. So this is the Natasha Denona Glam Face Palette in the shade Light, like Fair Light, I think, or Light Medium, one of the two. And as you can see, I've used both shimmers pretty much to death. They're so amazing. This formula is so different than what they've had in their actual like other palettes. It's kind of wild. I don't know why they're so different. I wish they would put these in palettes, or at least tell me which palettes have this formula in it, because I haven't really seen it and I have a lot of them. The cream blush is good. Not my favorite cream blush ever, but the highlighter is so special and amazing and just gorgeous. I would keep this just for the highlighter. That's how much I love it. But the eyeshadow shades in here are absolutely perfect. My one kind of gripe with this is that they don't sell refills of certain shades. So now I have these mattes that I can still dip into, but the shimmers are pretty much all gone. And I wish I could refill them. And honestly, like, it's also sad that they don't have the little push holes in the back where you can depot them as well. I wish I could do that because, hey, I don't use the cream blush as much. I need to get these refilled, so I don't know. I wish that they did that with this one. Do I have shades similar to these? Yes, I do. But the combination of these beautiful tones in here were just my perfect travel palette, and it's still incredible, but I need a refill for these shades because now I can't really swatch the shades because they're pretty much gone, and they're just so pretty and unique and fun, and I love this palette so much. I am gonna keep it, but I need a new one really bad. It's so good though. Now, this one I may be able to declutter. It kind of pains me to do it, but well, I can definitely depot this one, so I may actually be able to do that. This is the Natasha Denona Hyper Natural Face Palette. And it calls it a face palette because it has the bronzer and the blushes, but it also does have some eyeshadows in it. And the eyeshadows are actually one of the best parts of the palette. I don't really love the bronzer. I think it's too light, even for me. Like, it's very light and you have to really build it up. The blush, I thought it was okay. Didn't think it was that great. I have a video on this one as well. I don't remember what I said about it then. I think I used to like it a little bit more than I do now. Now that I've tried more formulas, I think it's just not my favorite. The shimmers are really great though. They're that like nice wet formula that kind of similar to the other face palette, this shade especially. Really good. I'll go ahead and swatch this one so you can see it. It's still not as good as the one in the other face palette, but it's still good. It's a little bit more sheer than the one in the other palette, but it's still fun and great. So I think what I'm going to do, because I can depot these, is this is going to be decluttered. The bronze and blush shades, I don't think that I'm going to keep those, to be honest, but the eyeshadows I think I am going to hold on to and maybe use those to swap around and see if I can make my own kind of curated palette in an upcoming video. So this one is going to be decluttered. This one is not going anywhere. If I want a warm toned eyeshadow palette, this is probably what I'm reaching to 99% of the time. This is the bronze palette, and I do wish that it wasn't leaning so orange. I would love it even more if it wasn't leaning so orange, but I still really enjoy it. So I know I've said I don't like oranges and reds. Now, there are a few oranges and reds in here, but they're not quite orange enough for me to dislike it. They are that true bronze, copper kind of shade. This one especially I love. True Bronze is so good. This lighter bronze shade especially is so great. These mattes are awesome. They look beautiful on me. They're warm, but not like so warm that they really pull orange. This one kind of can lean orange, this sundown shade, but if I stick to these two and these two, it's great. And then the shimmer shades on top, also really great. This one is a interesting addition. It's kind of like a purpley leaning shade. I don't really reach into that, to be honest. And this one I only use to deepen up the outer corner. I don't really use it for anything else. The shimmers are the highlight of this palette. They do all tend to look similar though on the eyes. This True Copper I don't reach into. It's a little bit too orange for me, and this red I don't reach into. So obviously there are some shades in here that I just don't gravitate towards. So maybe, I don't know. I think it's worth keeping as is for now. I might end up kind of swapping things around if I need to in a Z palette or something, depending on what the next video is going to be. But I'm definitely keeping this one. It's still really great, and I actually still travel with it, so I'm gonna keep it. All right, so this one is a great neutral eyeshadow palette, probably one of my most used ones as well. Just like the Glam palette, it kind of has Glam palette vibes. This is the I Need a Nude palette, and beautiful packaging. These tones are everything that I want from a neutral palette. I know I've said, like, obviously for colors I want golds, I want greens, I want pinks, I want purples, but this has a great mix of different formulas in it. It has these sheer shades that I love. These two, they just are so beautiful, and like a sophisticated light shimmer, kind of similar to that Makeup by Mario shade. This one is a super metallic shade that I love to use. These are like the true like sparkly shimmer metallic formulas that Natasha Denona has and is known for. The mattes are also really great. They blend super well. This kind of reminds me of the shades that are in that face palette that I love so much. And yeah, this is not going absolutely anywhere. This is so good, and it goes from light to deep. I don't think I have notes for this one, to be honest. This one is incredible, and it's cute. This one is the Sunrise palette. This is the Sunrise palette, and this is probably the first mid-size palette I think Natasha Denona ever made. And, oop, wow, yeah, that was rough. I haven't opened it in a while. This is a really nice color story, but as you can probably tell from my preferences in this video, it's a little too on the warm side, kind of on that orangey red side for me, and I've just learned that that is not something that I gravitate towards. This purple shade is very similar to a purple shade that's in one of the bigger mini palettes, so I don't know if I need to keep it just for that, because this is probably the most reach for shade in here. I like the peaches in here, but these are very similar to the coral palette that I'm keeping, so I don't think I need this one. Honestly, I don't think I do. It's beautiful. The formula is great, but color story is not what I reach for. So again, this is Decluttered, but I may be doing something with this eventually. I kind of go back and forth on this one. This one is the Natasha Denona Love palette, and it's pretty. I just don't tend to reach for it as much. I think I like the mini Love palette kind of more than I reach for this one. This one does have a few pops of the neutrals in there, but it's mostly reds and pinks and purples. The pinks and purples I'm here for. The reds, not as much. But the shimmers are really great, and I do like them. I just don't love them. And this palette is one of those that's like a like, not a love, and do I need to keep a like? I think this is going to be another declutter that probably will be done. Yeah, you know the drill. This is going to be decluttered, but you'll see it again in the future for a future video. Lastly, this is an absolute keep. I'm not even going to do a drum roll for this one. This is the Yucca palette, and it is greens and golds. It does have a pop of orange in there, but I'll forgive them for that. It's mostly greens and golds. This is as similar to the gold palette as I'm ever going to get, unless they re-release it. And yeah, it's not going anywhere. I really love it. Sometimes I actually do reach into these like kind of fun pops of green, not just the neutral greens. I think it looks incredible. This shade is so fun. It's kind of like a neon shade, not true neon, like UV neon, but it just has such a cool, I don't know, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's really fun pop of color. This shade is as similar to my favorite shade from the mini gold palette as I'm gonna get. It's awesome. It's really beautiful. It's got that green gold shift, very metallic. I'll go ahead and swatch it. It is so, it's so pretty. I love it. It is just a hair thinner than the one from the mini palette, but it's still really great. This shade here, Komorebi, I don't know if that's, I don't know how you pronounce the names in here, to be honest. I'm sorry. This is such a pretty like greenish gold as well. More on the greenish side than gold, kind of like right in the middle. This one's more gold leaning, this one's more green leaning, and this is kind of right in the middle. This purple shade is also really good. Yeah, this one in general, I can get a kind of pseudo neutral look out of this, and I can get a nice pop of greens and golds. I love it. This is not going anywhere. Really great. Until they bring back that gold palette, this is the closest thing I have. So I really love it. So keep. That is all my palettes. I do have some honorable mentions that I really don't know what I should do with them, because I did originally declutter them, I think, but I just can't seem to get rid of them, and maybe you can help me decide. So this is from Lunar Beauty. This is the Nude Prism palette. This is all neutral. I just can't decide if I need another all neutral palette, to be honest, and the shimmers are good. They're more kind of similar to that Glamlite formula where they're super metallic, but they're good. They don't blow me away. The mattes actually are what really keeps me coming back to the Lunar Beauty formula. But yeah, do I need it? Do I not? I don't know. Please let me know in the comments, because I'm really tempted to declutter this. I thought I decluttered this before. So for now, I think it's going to be a declutter unless y'all can convince me otherwise. This one is also one that I thought I decluttered, but I think I may have held on to because of the packaging. Should I do that? I don't know. But the packaging is just so incredible. So this is the Moonspell palette from Lunar Beauty, and it's got the golds, it's got the greens, it's got the pinks and purples, and it's got some neutral. It has everything that I theoretically want out of a palette, and it has incredible packaging. So yeah, really hard for me to say goodbye to. The formula itself is really good. Maybe not my favorite shimmer shade, like shimmer formula ever, but it's still good. I think I am going to actually declutter this, but again, let me know if I should change my mind. Like, part of me just keeps it because of the packaging, and I know I shouldn't do that because I don't reach into it on a regular basis. And then I have the Tati Beauty palette, which I don't know why I haven't been able to declutter this yet, but it's, I don't know, maybe it's because I used it for so long and loved it. But this is the Tati Beauty Volume 1, which is crazy that Volume 1 was put on here, and then Tati Beauty went out of business and stopped making palettes. But this is so luxurious. Like, the formula is actually really, really good. And I just don't know what to do with it now. Honestly, the pressed glitters are, wow, incredible. When it comes to pressed glitters, I don't use them too often, but the formula of these is great. But the shimmers were really good. The mattes were really good. The matte with a shimmer was also great and kind of unique. See, the formula is still really good. It's an older palette, but it's still kicking. I will say that the regular shimmer shade feels a little bit on the dry side and is kind of underwhelming. So maybe it's time to get rid of it. I don't know. It's hard for me to decide. Part of me just keeps, for the nostalgia, I don't know. But definitely let me know in the comments if you think I should keep it or not. I think it's kind of time to go. I don't know. We'll see. But for now, it's going to be decluttered, unless people can convince me otherwise. But that is it. So that's all the palettes that I have, and let's go ahead and put them back in the drawer and see how we did. Alright, here are the palettes that I decided to keep. Not a ton, actually. It's kind of crazy to look at this drawer and see how much room I have in it. Don't mind it. It's dirty. I need to clean it out, okay? Mind your business. But this is it. And as I mentioned, the other Natasha Denona palettes, I will decide what I'm going to do with those, but they'll most likely be featured in another video, and I'll probably try to do something fun with those. But these are the ones that I decided to keep intact because I love them so much as they are. But, yeah. I think I did a good job of decluttering. It looks like I went through half the drawer, honestly, and yeah. that's pretty good for me. I've tried to be ruthless this entire time, and I think I successfully did it. So that is officially the end of my eyeshadow palette declutter and my declutter series. That is all the categories that I have. If you are interested in anything like more in-depth, if you want to see any specific products or categories more in-depth, which ones are my favorites, which ones are not, anything you want, just let me know what y'all want to see. I definitely am trying to branch out my content, and I have enjoyed this series so much. And of course, as I get new products, there will be other declutters in the future, but that is the end for 2025, I think, unless I somehow get so many more products like by the end of the year, but who knows, we'll see. But yeah, that is everything, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you had an amazing day or night wherever you are. Please like and subscribe. It helps my channel so much. Please keep on a lookout for new videos coming from me. I am looking forward to trying different things and seeing what y'all like, so definitely let me know in the comments if you have anything that you want to see from me. But that is all, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!